welcome to the service. I'm very excited for today's service. I'm here in Panama. Beautiful, beautiful Panama. I don't know if you can see. Let me show you a little bit of this. Look at that. Right here on the beach. It's great. Couldn't really figure, oh my God, there's a rainbow. God is great. Say God is great for the rainbow. Damn, that's a nice, juicy rainbow there. There you go. There you go, you see that? God's sending down gifts all the time, y'all, all the time. Let me show you the other balcony, actually. Here we go. Here we go, there it is. What a beauty. That's, That's the beach. I got 3 powerful gurus guiding our meditation. I don't have the best audio here, so I want to make sure that that experience is 100% legit for y'all. And those 3 gurus are, I call them the Great White Gurus. Western gurus who really turned me on to Hinduism and all this stuff, because when I was a kid, the teachings were really, they were kind of weird. I mean, they were always, I remember one time my mom was watching this guru, this big Gujarati guru. I'm from a state in India called Gujarat, and the most powerful guru at the time. He's doing this service, and he says, he's basically talking about the value of your parents and your father specifically, not even parents, father. And he's basically doing this sermon, very big sermon, thousands of people in the crowd, all women, by the way, all like old women in the crowd. And he's doing this sermon, and he's saying how he says in India, father is God, but in a Western culture, what they call father? Dead. Now whole society dead. And I'm just like, what? Why are you crying to this? It's kind of not even a good, it's just a wordplay joke almost. It's just a wordplay, like he's just pronouncing dad like dead. And then he's saying, well, of course, now the whole society is falling apart because they don't love their dads, because they call their dad dead. And that's sending a signal, that's sending a vibration out that the father is dead. And it's this whole thing. I mean, and it was a crowd full of Indian aunties, and they're bawling. They're like, oh my God. Powerful. They loved it. They loved it. Even my parents were like, come on, you gotta listen to this. You gotta listen to this. He's so beautiful. His words are like nectar in the ear. Come listen to this powerful teacher. And I'm like, that's it? The dad dead thing? That's the teaching, that's the service? Listen, that's why I just never got into it. Obviously there's some kind of a cultural thing there that I was not, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but, so I did get into these, I call them the Great White Gurus. I think we have Alan Watts today, Tara Brach, and Baba Ram Das. And I've been listening to Baba Ram Das all week, just walking up and down the beach, listening to Baba Ram Das. Osho is still my favorite. Osho is the best, but I love Osho so much that I don't really have the clips ready for Osho. Whereas these 3 gurus, I've put together 3 powerful meditations that will take us into non-dual unity consciousness is what they call it. So those 3 the powerful meditations I have, and then I'm gonna slip in a story in there. There's going to be one of them that's going to be like a guided story that you kind of metaphorically go along with. So 3 Gurujis, 3 Great White Gurus, and 1 story. And, it's interesting. I've been listening to Baba Ram Das all week, and it's crazy how much he will listen to the teachings. Like the guy that I was telling you before, the guy who says, father is dead, and then now whole society dead. Baba Ram Das, it's crazy because I always look at that guy as like, what the hell is this? I'm listening to Baba Ram Das all week this week, and he will take teachings like that and turn them into this positive thing. he's an extremely positive guy. He's such a sweetheart. And even his name, I was listening to a story about how his name, and this relates to something that we talk about here at our loving kindness meditation. One of my patented techniques here, if people have been coming regularly, we call it the Michael Jackson, is one of my most powerful techniques. And what the Michael Jackson is basically, when I was in India, I remember there was a kid, when kids would dance, you know, you got to encourage the kids. You got to encourage them to dance, right? Or else, I mean, one thing I will agree with is that if you look at the West, people don't dance. You got to get wasted to dance in this culture. People will not dance in the West. They need to pre-drink, and then they get to the club, they'll drink more at the club, and then maybe 1:30 they'll start dancing, 2 o'clock club is closed. No dancing. But one of the great things in India is it's not a drinking culture, so you need these dance encouragements. So these kids would dance, and I remember there's an uncle in our village that would say that every time kids dancing, almost like it's his duty to do it. Anytime kids dancing, he would say, "Wow, Michael Jackson!" Like, just to make them feel like, wow, you're a great dancer. That's good, keep dancing. So, wow, what's up, Michael Jackson? Oh my God, Michael Jackson come. Like, he really made them feel like, you're incredible, dude. You gotta dance. And it's a common joke in India. And it's like a joke / it's like a joke, but it can be an insult, but it can be a joke. So like, if you're 5 years old and someone says, wow, Michael Jackson? That's like an honest encouragement. They're like, come on, man, you gotta keep dancing. Even though the kid doesn't really know how to dance. They look like idiots probably, but they'll go hard, they work extra hard on the dancing. If you're 20 and someone says, wow, Michael Jackson, they're kind of insulting you. They're saying you're not really a good dancer. But if you push through, then the same person will say, Michael Jackson. They'll give it to you, whether it's an insult or a compliment. It's only in your head. Baba Ram Dasa, when he first went to India, they were kind of doing that to him, meaning like Ram Dasa. Ram is the name of the most one of the most powerful gods in Hinduism. And when Baba Ram Dasa first went to India, I think his name is like Richard Alpert. So I don't know, I forget his real name. But he goes to India, and almost to kind of encourage him / make fun of him, when he goes to India, he's like working so hard, he's trying so hard to be this great meditator. And these guys, almost like kind of as a joke, they're like, look, Baba Ram Dasa. And sometimes they'll even say, Master Shri Baba Ram Dasa. Gee. So they'll just keep adding these comments, these respectful things onto the name. But when he first got there, yeah, I think his name is Richard Alpert. Such a white name and, you know, thing to do. But still, we owe him a lot. I mean, I owe him a lot. I would never have gone into this stuff without these, like I said, the great white gurus. He gets there, they're making fun of him, and they're like, oh, look, Baba Ram Dasa. Then he's like, yeah, well, I will be Baba Ram Dasa. And he's like working extra hard on the meditation. And then he pushes through, and eventually they're like, Baba Ram Dasa. Yes, he is Baba Ram Dasa. So, really, if you think about it, the only difference, whether it's the Michael Jackson or it's the Baba Ram Dasa, the only difference between compliment and insult is just the thinking mind. It is only the thinking that makes it so. And that's why meditation is about turning off the thinking. And if you listen to a lot of Baba Ram Dasa's stuff, I mean, it's crazy because I was listening to another one of his speeches. He's talking about like a legit con artist, this known Indian con artist who does these cheap magic tricks. I won't say his name, but because people actually get offended when you talk shit about this guy. But he is like a known con artist, whatever. And Baba Ram Dasa talks about him. He's like, oh, Shri Babaji, Shri, I went to see him, and he would just do these he could teleport. He was teleporting jewelry from other places, and he would give it to you, and he was able to do a magic. And he believes it. And I'm like, what? In what world are you seeing this guy's cheat? Like, his magic trick was just so obvious. He'd be like, he'd do this, and then it would be like I'm gonna, oh, hey, here's a new iPhone, right? So it literally, it's like he does this. The iPhone's there. He'll be like, iPhone, and he'll give people like watches, gold chains. You can just watch on YouTube. It's so obvious. Like, the guy has it planted on his back. It's just not even good magic. Anyway, Baba Ram Dass he does a whole talk on it, and he's like, he could teleport through the astral plane. He was teleporting things in, and one day they asked him, "Where did you get all this? Where are you teleporting it in from?" Because it says made in China. Where you teleporting it in from the factory? And Babaji said, "No, we have a warehouse." Honestly. But, it just goes to show you, though, that really the power of the non-thinking mind, because at the end of the day, let's just say he goes to India and they call him Baba Ram Dass and he gets discouraged. We would not have his incredible work. His work is incredible. He's got the best teachings. Let's just say he goes and he sees a couple of these Gurujis and he goes, "This guy's a con artist. I'm not doing this shit." I would not be here today. I would not be here. And again, this really just goes to the power of meditation. This is very important for me too, going into 2023, putting up more content, putting up more videos. It's like, you can't think, unless you want to be the person who's calling out scams, or unless you want to be that person, then you got to do it. Then you got to think, and that's your job. That is your karmas. You're here to do those karmas. But if you're not here to do that, then why not be like Baba Ram Dass and just take the teachings and keep moving forward with your vision, with what you want to do in your life? That's going to be the lesson for today. We all got to go hard with whatever we're doing. Okay, thanks for coming. Loving kindness. And I'm going to be doing this with you, by the way. I'm going to be listening live with you so that all of our energies are coming in hard and we're going to move forward. We're not going to be called Michael Jackson. We're all going to be Michael Jackson. Thank you.
As you come into stillness, take a few full breaths, a nice deep in-breath, and a slow out-breath. And again, a nice deep full in-breath, filling the chest, filling the lungs. And then a slow out-breath, feeling the sensations of the breath as you exhale. And then letting the breath resume in its natural rhythm. Just feel this body breathing. And take some moments to scan in your life. And you might notice where in your relationships with others or in your own behaviors you feel like you've turned on yourself in some way. You might be in a situation where you're in conflict with another person but feeling bad about yourself. It might be that you've turned on yourself, you're at war with yourself for a way that you're behaving as a parent, a partner, a friend. You might be judging yourself or down on yourself for something to do with work, or maybe it's for an addictive behavior. Where do you get into the trance of unworthiness, the trance of not okay? And let your attention go to that place where you know you get into the trance. And for now, just let yourself kind of get close into it so you can feel the sense of how it is to be living inside that mind state of the belief that in some way you're falling short, you should be different. Perhaps there's a sense of not lovable, not okay, not respectable. Something's wrong. We begin the reign of self-compassion by recognizing, oh, this is trance, at war with myself. Recognizing the thoughts and feelings of the trance. Just allowing that all to be here right now. We're making room for what's here. The A of rain is just to allow, this is how it is right now. We begin to investigate with curiosity, with gentleness. Okay, so what's it like when I'm in this trance? And you might sense what you're believing about yourself and other people. If that comes quickly, just, what's the belief right there? I should be different. I'm bad because I'm hurting others. No one could love me. I'll always fail. Just sense what might be built in there, what kind of core belief. And most important, feel your body and sense when you're in the trance of unworthiness, what is it like in your body? What's your throat feel like, your chest, your belly, when you're really feeling bad about yourself? The most important part of investigating is connecting with the embodied experience. Sense the most vulnerable part of you, where you feel the worst. Sense what that part most needs. The part that feels deficient, not okay, what does it need? Does it need to be seen in a different way and loved, understood, held? Just sense that. And as you're listening into that, as you're feeling into that place in you that is feeling not okay, you might experiment with putting your hand on your heart. Just lightly, a very tender touch. And this is the beginning of turning towards loving, towards the N of rain, the nourishing. And sense the possibility of offering what's most needed inwardly. Perhaps there's words that you might offer. Sometimes it's okay, sweetheart, or I'm sorry and I love you. Thich Nhat Hanh says, darling, I care about this suffering, is a powerful phrase. Or it might be as the minister that you sense the love of the God or the divine flowing through you, or for me, that kiss on the brow of pure care. Sense the possibility of calling on love and offering it inward. Nourish with self-compassion. Each time you nourish with self-compassion, let it be a fresh, creative exploration of what really allows you to feel love flowing into your own being. You might imagine light, warmth pouring in. Just the intention to offer care inwardly begins to decondition that tendency to be at war. The meditation becomes full when, after the steps of rain, we simply notice, who am I if I'm not any longer believing anything's wrong? Sensing that tenderness, the openness, the spaciousness of being when we're not at war. From the teachings of Bapuji, an Indian master, he says, "My beloved child, break your heart no longer. Each time you judge yourself, you break your own heart. You stop feeding on the love which is the wellspring of your vitality. The time has come, your time to live, to celebrate, and see the goodness that you are. Let no one, no thing, no idea or ideal obstruct you. If one comes even in the name of truth, forgive it for its unknowing. Do not fight. Let go and breathe into the goodness that you are."
The child. It is early in the morning as I walk through the countryside, and I feel happy and at peace. Up ahead, I see a stone building that seems to be very old. Its ancient roof is also made of stone, and along the front stand large marble columns. As I near the building, I can see it has a massive metal door. Suddenly, I'm surprised when two ferocious beasts charge toward me from one side of the building. Fortunately, they're held back by strong chains, which stop them just out of reach. I can't approach the door without being attacked by the animals, so I throw them a sack of food. The beasts eagerly devour the food and soon fall fast asleep. Approaching the door, I inspect it carefully, but cannot find a door handle or any other way to open it. Nevertheless, I push gently, and the door swings open with an ancient creaking sound. A long, softly lit room opens before me. I cannot see to the end, but on the left and right are life-size paintings that reach nearly to the floor. Each portrays a different scene. The first, on my left, depicts a magician seated behind a table, spread with cards, dice, and other games of chance. My gaze is drawn to this character's curious hat. I try to run my finger over the hat in the painting, but feel no resistance to my touch. Instead, my arm enters right into the picture. So I go ahead and put one leg, and then my whole body into the painting. Raising a hand, the magician exclaims, "Not so fast. You can't come in unless you pay admission." Searching through my pockets, I pull out a small crystalline sphere, which I give to this trickster. The colorful character nods, and I enter. It is night, and I find myself in an amusement park. Everywhere I see mechanical rides, filled with light and movement, but I do not see any people. Then I discover a child about 10 years old who is facing away from me. As I move closer, the youngster turns to look at me, and I realize it is myself when I was that age. "What are you doing here?" I ask. The child tells me something about an injustice that has happened, and then begins to cry. To console the child, I promise that we'll go on some rides. But the youngster insists on talking about the injustice. In order to understand the child better, I try to recall what happened to me at that age that was so unfair. Now I remember that injustice, and somehow I realize it's like a situation I'm experiencing in my life right now. I reflect on this, but the child continues to cry. So I say, "All right then, I'm going to straighten out this injustice that seems to keep happening to me. To begin with, I'll be friendly toward the people who are creating the situation for me." I notice that the youngster is laughing now. With an affectionate pat, I say that we'll be seeing each other again. Saying goodbye, the child goes away very happy. I leave the amusement park, passing beside the magician, who gives me a quick sidelong glance. As I go by, I brush against his hat, prompting a playful wink from this extraordinary character. I emerge from the painting, and once again find myself in the long room. Walking slowly, I cross the room and go through the door. Outside, the animals remain fast asleep, and I pass between them without fear. A magnificent day greets me. I make my way back across the open fields, whistling and singing, with the sensation that at last I understand a situation that has been a burden to me for a very long time.
But when you practice jhana, you're amazed how many things there are that aren't so. Because when you stop talking to yourself and you are simply aware of what is, That is to say, of what you feel, what you sense. And even that's saying too much. You suddenly find that the past and the future have completely disappeared. So also have disappeared the so-called differentiation between the knower and the known, the subject and the object, the feeler and the feeling, the thinker and the thought. They just aren't there, because you have to talk to yourself to maintain those things. They're purely conceptual. They're ideas. They're phantoms, ghosts. So when you allow thinking to stop, all that goes away. And you find you're in an eternal here and now. And there's nowhere you're supposed to be. There's nothing you're supposed to do. There's nowhere you're supposed to go, because in order to think you're supposed to do something, you have to think. And so it's incredibly important to unthink at least once a day, for the very preservation of the intellectual life. So if we stop that temporarily and get our mind clear of thoughts, we become, as Jesus said, again as children, and get a direct view of the world, which is very useful once you're an adult. There's not much you can do with it when you're a baby, because everybody pushes you around. And, you know, they pick you up and sit you there, they sit you there. And you can't do much except practice contemplation. Only you can't tell anyone what it's like. But when, as an adult, you can recapture the baby's point of view, you will know what all child psychologists have always wanted to know, how it is that a baby feels. And the baby, according to Freud at least, has the oceanic experience. That is to say, a feeling of complete inseparability from what's going on. The baby is unable to distinguish between the universe and his or her action upon the universe. And most of us, if we got into that state of consciousness, might be inclined to feel extremely frightened and beginning to ask, who's in charge? I mean, who controls what happens next? We would ask that because we are used to the idea that the process of nature consists of controllers and controlees, things that do and things that are done to. This is purely mythological. So therefore, to everyone who is in quest of the supreme kick, the great experience, the vision of God, whatever you want to call it, liberation. When you think that you're not it, any old guru can sell you on a method to find it. And that may not be a bad thing for him to do, because, as Blake said, a fool who persists in his folly will become wise. So long as you can be persuaded that there's something more that you ought to be than you are, you've divided yourself from reality, from the universe, from God, or whatever you want to call that, the tat in tatvamasi. To be truly realized, you have to get to the point where you're not seeking anymore. So then you begin to think, well, we will now be non-seekers. You know, like disciples of Krishnamurti, who, because he says he doesn't read any spiritual books, they can't read anything but mystery stories. You know, becoming spiritually unspiritual. Well, you find that that too is what is called in Zen legs on a snake. It's irrelevant. You don't need not to seek, because you don't need anything. We have to have something to hang on to. Who does? And eventually you discover, of course, that it's not necessary to hang on to anything, to rely on anything. There's nothing to rely on, because you're it. It's like the universe. It's like asking the question, where is the universe? And by that I mean the whole universe. Whereabouts is it in space? Everything in it is falling around everything else, but there's no concrete floor underneath for the thing to crash. Because the space, you can think of infinite space if you like. You don't have to think of curved space. The space that goes out and out and out forever and ever and has no end. What is that? Of course it's you. What else could it be? Now, you see, if you understand what I'm saying with your intelligence, and then take the next step and say, but I understood it now, but I didn't feel it. Then next I raise the question, why do you want to feel it? You say, I want something more, because that's again that spiritual greed. And you could only say that because you didn't understand it. There is nothing to pursue because you're it. And if you don't know that, you always were it. And if you don't know that, in other words, to put it in Christian terms or Jewish terms, if you don't know that you're God from the beginning, what happens is that you try to become God by force. Therefore, you start being violent and obstreperous and this and that and the other. All our violence, all our competitiveness, all our terrific anxiety to survive is because we didn't know from the beginning that we were it. Well, then you would say if we did know from the beginning, as in fact you did, when you were a baby, but then everybody says, well, nothing would ever happen. But if that is the case, if Hindus, and really awakened Hindus, by the knowledge of their union with the Godhead, would simply become inert, why then Hindu music? The most incredibly complex, marvelous technique. When they sit and play, they laugh at each other. They're enjoying themselves enormously with these very complicated musical games. But when we come and the symphony orchestra gets up, everybody dresses in evening dress and a serious expression, and all the audience is down. You know, it's like it's in a kind of church. And there's none of that terrific zest where the drummer, the tabla player, laughs at the sarod player as they compete with each other in all kinds of marvelous improvisations. So, if you do find out, by any chance, who you really are, you, instead of becoming merely lazy, you start laughing. And laughing leads to dancing. And dancing needs music. And we can play with each other for a change.
Sit straight. And experience right in the middle of your chest a tiny being. Imagine it. Use your imagination. Sitting on a lotus flower, tiny being the size of your thumb. And as you look upon this being, light is pouring forth from it. It's radiant, luminous. And just from looking upon this being, you get a sense of incredible peace. And you look at its face and you feel infinite compassion within this being. And just being near this entity fills you with a feeling of love. It sits quiet, perfect equanimity, great wisdom. Now let that being grow in size till it fills your body, its head, your head, its torso, your torso, its legs, your legs, its arms, your arms. Feel its peace. Feel its equanimity. Let yourself be filled with its love. Now, with your eyes closed, you and the being expand in size until your head reaches to the ceiling of this hall and you're sitting down beneath it, and all of us are within you, and this voice is within you. Feel your hugeness. Still silent, peaceful, compassionate. Now you break out of the building, your head goes up into the sky, your head is among the planets. You have grown in size till you are sitting in the middle of this galaxy, this universe. The earth is within your belly. Feel your hugeness at this moment. You are in the heavens, silent, expand yet again until all of the planets, all of the galaxies, everything of which you can think is within you. You are the One. You are the Ancient One. I am within you. Everything that ever was, is, or will be is part of the dance of your being. You are all of the universe, so you have infinite wisdom. You appreciate all of the feelings of the universe, so you have infinite compassion. Feel your immensity, your aloneness. Let the boundaries now of your being disintegrate and merge yourself into that which is beyond form. And sit for a moment in the formless. Now gently reestablish the form of your being. You are still that immense One. Very slowly reduce in size back through the universe, smaller, smaller, until your head is at the roof of this building. You are sitting below the earth, and all of the beings in this hall are within you. From this vast height, look down and find who it was that walked into this hall. Find who you thought you were. Look at that being. Look at her or his life. Look at that being as a soul living out another round. Look upon that being with compassion. See how it gets lost into its drama. At this moment, reach down from your vast height and gently touch that being in blessing on the top of its head. At this moment, you are that which blesses, and you are that which is being blessed. Experience both simultaneously. Now come down in size until you are back into your body, still with this radiant being filling you. This being of peace, love, compassion, wisdom. This being who in its huge form fills the universe and who now fills your body. And as this being, hold up your right hand, palm forward. Keep your eyes closed, just your right hand up, palm forward. And allow yourself to become a vehicle for bringing those qualities out into the physical plane to all beings who suffer in the universe. Become now a pure vehicle of that huge one. Become filling your body. Let it pour through your hand. Feel it coming out of the palm of your right hand, and send blessings of peace and love to all beings who suffer, whether their suffering is physical, psychological, spiritual. It makes no difference. They are suffering. If there are beings you know who are suffering, bring them to mind and surround their beings with light, with love, and with peace at this moment. If there are beings towards whom you feel anger, bring them into your consciousness. See the soul which lies within that incarnation, and bless that soul with love and peace and light. For as you go on this spiritual journey, you must accept the responsibility to share what you receive. For that is part of the harmony of God. That you become an instrument for the manifestation of the will of God. Now you put your hand down. And finally, let that being now become smaller and smaller until it is the size of a thumb sitting in the middle of your heart. That is your inner guru. That is the inner voice that speaks truth because it is truth. That is the being who will guide you home. That is the being that is none other than your true self. When when you finish being who you think you are. And at any time you can go inside and start to talk to and listen to that being. Whether you call it Christ or Buddha or God or my true self.
Wow, but you are a Baba Ram Das. You must be a Baba Ram Das. Must be. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next week from the ashram, from our digital ashram. Thanks for watching, though. This is very powerful meditation. The vibration is very high. I can sense it. It's actually very, very high, and all of the teachers came to participate. So, good work. You're going to have a powerful week, and I'll see you next Sunday. All right. Loving kindness. Loving kindness.